Hey guys, today we are going to part 2. My tablet is still in the charger because it charges while it is, so...
My eyes, and she smiled at me. Yes, it's
Watch
me.
part 1
Your
first.
grandpa is calling me.
Watch part 1 first before you watch this video.
I'll go first. So stop sleeping and get up. I really missed her. Crying in my dream, I suddenly woke up with a surge of longing for her. I kept crying and then came out of the car. At that moment, I saw my family walking towards me, carrying a box of grandmother's ashes and her picture. I immediately told my mom about my dream, and then she patted me on the back and said this. I guess Grandma wanted to say goodbye before she left. Maybe you were the only one who was sleeping, so she wanted to say goodbye to you.
Oh, she didn't know that yet. The true old building horror story.
One evening, I was looking for an internet cafe because I needed to...
You sure, you kid?
I spotted one in the old
Your
building.
voice is deep.
The sign said it was on the 6th floor. When I walked through the entrance, there was a dark hallway that led to a small elevator.
Why are you smiling
I
then?
pressed the call button, and when the doors opened, I stepped inside.
Oh,
There's a
wow,
lot
it's
of
gonna
Asian
squish
countries.
you.
Many buildings do not have a 4th floor. The floor is considered bad luck because the word "for" sounds almost the same as the word for death. Then it stopped and the doors opened. I was about to step out when I realized that something was wrong. The hallway was in total darkness. By the light advancing from the elevator, I could make out a random piece of furniture covered with white cloth.
Oh, that stands for floor. Family
I
friendly.
thought I might have gotten off on the wrong floor, so I checked the button, but none of them were lit up. There was nothing to indicate which floor I was on. Just then, I noticed something moving at the
Why
end
are there
of the
so
dark
much
hallway.
grudges?
I couldn't quite make out what it was. Then it looked like a
Like, watch the last round. There are like two.
slowly down the hallway towards the elevator.
Mom, Kim is live.
I felt a touch of the closed door.
Sorry, guys.
All of a
I need to
sudden,
tell
the
my
light
friend,
in the
my
elevator
mom
turned off.
something.
I was plunged into the pitch darkness. I was so freaked out I almost wet myself. Just as I was about to lose it completely.
Oh
the
no,
light
that's
flickered back on.
a
The
boy
door
grudge.
closed. The elevator jolted back to life and began to ascend again. I breathed a sigh of
Don't go to floor 6. That's evil.
open this time. I was at the internet cafe. I went over to the counter and told the girl who worked there and what had happened. As she listened, her face grew pale. She said that some of the customers and a few of her co-workers had experienced the same thing. She had never experienced anything herself, but she told me about the history of the building. Apparently, the 4th floor had been a hair salon at one time. It was prospering and doing pretty good until one of the women who worked there killed herself in the salon. Nobody knew the reason why. The salon continued to operate, but they were plagued by weird and inexplainable events. Sometimes when customers were having their hair washed, the water would turn red as blood. Other people claimed that when they looked in the mirror, they would catch glimpses of a ghostly figure standing behind them. When they turned around, there would be no one there. Because of these events, the salon developed that reputation and began to lose members. Eventually, they were forced to close down. The building owners tried to rent the 4th floor out to the businesses.
Wait, is this... The writing is like in Chinese.
Nobody would take it.
But they're speaking
Finally, the owner
English.
reduced the price to nearly nothing, and it was rented by a businessman.
Thank you. Final says rental
Supply store.
in English.
However,
Rental
when they tried
whatever.
to do some renovation on the floor, there was a series of mysterious accidents.
Sorry guys, you can't see your face. My tablet doesn't know how to
Only to
focus
be
that
found
way.
in strange places. A large mirror suddenly shattered when nobody was there, and a workman had his hand crushed when the elevator closed unexpectedly. Eventually, the workman was so spooked that they refused to continue.
Bro, you could have cut your fingers off. That's what would have happened.
And just shut it down. He had the button in the elevator.
And why is the woman that he was talking to having such long...
At least that's what's supposed to happen. For some reason, when people took the elevator, it was sometimes stop on the fourth floor.
Well, the girl who, yeah, that girl,
See a figure coming
who was in
towards
the
us.
cafeteria.
I honestly still don't know what that was.
Get a cozy? We'll just get a cozy. Wait, am I saying? Sorry, I don't know how to speak Creole that well.
When I was a little girl, I had the same dream several times. In these dreams, I used to see an old lady who kept running after me. She was wearing Korean traditional clothes called a hanbok and put her white hair up. Whenever it happened, she was kind of far away from me, so I tried to run away from her at full speed. But then, when I turned my head around, in less than 3 seconds, she had already reached me and was right behind me with an angry look on her face and stretching out her hand. So I always woke up crying when I felt like I was going to get caught by her. That horrible situation repeated over and over again whenever I had a dream. However, the interesting thing
What are you doing, BINGO?
my dream. Because I was so young at the time, it was really scary.
Because I'm filming a video.
In my dream, so I tried to not fall asleep. But eventually, I couldn't win, and sleep took over my body. And the same thing happened again.
No, she's
In one
too
dream,
loud.
I was playing at the playground with my older brother. We were playing with some dirt, and I could see the old lady watching us as usual. To be more specific, she was
Guys,
staring at
comment
me.
down below if you can hear her, but
Run! Hurry!
it's gonna
As
have
soon
to
as I
stay like
told him
this for a little
that, she
bit.
ran towards us. But this time, she looked even more angry than usual. I was in a hurry, so I yelled at my brother to go up on the slide, and we both ran towards it. I was going to go up the slide, but suddenly, I stumbled and fell down. As she was approaching, I was about to scream, but to my surprise, she just passed me. And then she angrily grabbed my brother's leg with one hand and pulled him downwards. Being terrified, I cried and yelled at her to let go of him. And then I suddenly woke up. When I woke up, I realized that my whole body was drenched in cold sweat. A few days later, an unforgettable and unbelievable incident happened to me. My brother was in a car accident. Not to mention his teeth, cheekbones, ribs, right leg and shoulders were all smashed. It was just horrible. But since the accident, I couldn't stop thinking of the old lady who I'd met in my dream. Well, it's been a long time now, but I still remember her face so vividly. Since my brother's accident, the old lady was no longer in my dreams. However, to this day, I'm still really curious. Why did the old lady appear in my dream? And what did she want to say to me?
She right there, girl. She's trying to tell you the future maybe. Future tell her. Ugh, can't speak.
I'm someone who goes on a deep and dark web constantly.
Because your voice is
It's not what
deep.
people think.
You look like an anime voice. My Goyo. Hey.
Years ago,
Come on, make some more My Academia
and I put her personal
things.
information on her phone. And soon after that, she disappeared. It's been a while since that happened. And I've ran into
My
people
Goyo, you
that
don't like
have
girls.
disrespected me
You
since.
like Deku.
I'm not an intimidating guy, nor do I look intimidating, nor do I ever have physical or verbal
Guys, his hair is
conflict.
actually like
I
a
always think to
brownish,
myself,
tannish color.
these people don't know what could happen to them. I work at a fast food restaurant, and at the time of this story, my manager was extremely on my case about everything. I would be late, mess up
Let me
orders,
see what percent my
have an
tablets
attitude
at.
with customers, and some other stuff I could name, but it's so much. I understood that I was
24.
messing up, but the tone that this guy would talk to me embarrassed me in front of my coworkers, and sometimes in front of customers. One day, though, that was the last straw. So one day I walked into work, 5 minutes before I was due to clock in, and my manager out loud said that the window liquor is finally on time, in front of customers and my coworkers. Everyone laughed at me. During my little night, he would direct smart comments toward me, while still yelling
Bro,
at
what
me
do
for
you know?
everything
There's
that I did
only like a
wrong.
little line.
I made up my mind. I was going to find that form and get his information. On my walk home, I was going back and forth with myself.
Has
I was
it been
whether
an
to do
hour
it or
yet?
not. By the time I made it
Bro,
home,
been 41
I made
minutes.
up my mind. I didn't shower nor did
Well,
I
it
change
just turned
clothes.
41
I
minutes.
went straight to my laptop and I searched. I possibly clicked
No, I
maybe
have
100
a
links
purple
on a
shirt.
dark web through a link that was
But on
taken
video,
from
it shows that
a
he
link
has
named
blue.
Pork Chop piqued my interest.
Pork chop.
When I
No, we're
clicked it, I
back
was
for dinner
directed
now.
to an about page. It only said 6 words.
We
find
find it,
we
we
chop
chop
it.
it.
And another link that said, here's an example of what we do.
Oh no, no,
I clicked it,
no.
of course.
Don't watch it, don't
As
watch
soon as I
it.
clicked on it, the picture went to the point of view from an old school camera, with the date and time in the corner
Yeah,
of
he's
the
gonna
screen.
get a knife
The
and
person behind the
chop
camera
that.
approached the man
that
and
boy.
followed him. A few minutes went by,
Watch.
and the man noticed what was happening. He turned around and approached the camera while yelling and screaming at the person for following him. Then all of a sudden, you see 5 huge guys dressed in black wearing a pig mask run from behind the man and drag him into the dark.
Cause of pork chop.
The person holding the
made of
camera turned the
pigs.
camera to his
Piggies.
or her face
Piggy,
and
what are you
leave him there
doing?
for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Hey, family
That person
friendly.
also wore a pig mask, but all you could hear was the man screaming and sounds that I don't want to describe in the background.
Bro, don't
The
watch
camera
it.
was then turned back around and the
Why
sight
is
I
that
saw
pig
was
doing peace
disturbing.
signs?
It was something that no one
right
would ever
there.
want to see. Some
That
people say
dude.
that they wouldn't wish it on their worst enemy, but I did.
This is at least a
After the
little
video was
bit
over,
better
there were links.
screen
One
things.
said pork,
I just need to
and the
zoom
other
in a
said
little
chop.
bit.
I clicked on the pork and it prompted me to put in a code. I didn't have one, so I backed out. So I clicked on chop. There was information that needed to be filled out, like name, height, description, and place. I filled out all the info from
Bro,
the
what are you
manager.
typing in? Your name by
My
Goyo.
job. I submitted the form.
Okay, guys, I'm
At the end of the screen, it said, see you soon. 4 days later, while at work, my manager approached me and decided to apologize for the way he treated me and offered to give me more hours and said that he would work with me more
I
often.
bet his
because
coworker
he
is one of the guys just
A
up as
few hours
pigs.
later, it was close to the end of the night. My manager helped me with the trash and took it out for me. As I was putting chairs on top of the table getting ready to mop, I looked outside and saw my manager looking over at something, but he looked worried. I moved to get a better look and I saw what he was looking at. He was surrounded by 6 people in a pig mask with weapons in their hands. I ran
You
outside
said
of
5
this
people.
except for one person.
5 people.
He had a camera. I forgot all about these guys, and then I put his information on the website. I ran outside as they approached him. He looked at me for help, but I ran back inside and called the police. It took them 10 minutes to get there.
Bro,
When I
you should
looked back
call the
outside,
emergency
what I saw was the
211.
most disgusting thing
Well,
I've
that's how
ever
you
seen.
call coronavirus
I wish I
things,
could
I
get the
think.
image out of my head. Between the time of me initially seeing them, calling the cops, and
Right,
back
only
outside,
want you to see on
these
TV.
guys were
On
gone.
my
But
walls.
my manager was still there. I went to his
Yeah.
funeral the next week.
Okay, I
The next
zoomed
day I
in.
received an anonymous email that had the whole video.
That's good.
They were watching him this whole time as he was on shift.
No,
I don't
no.
know how they got my email. I never provided any of my information. To
Because
this day,
you put
I
your
feel
name
sick
in.
because my manager started
You probably
to
put your
not
last
see me
name too.
I can't go back on the dark web.
I better not jump scare. Something was happening in the house.
This happened
Finally,
over
girl.
25 years ago, but the memories are still fresh on my mind.
She sounds
I
familiar.
moved in with my boyfriend, who
Oh,
was
my
a musician, and I wasn't working at
earpod's
the
getting
time.
itchy.
Our budget was small, so when we were offered super cheap
Myself.
rent for a house, we jumped at the opportunity. It should have been a red flag at the time, but we were in no position to refuse. It was far from the city center. We had almost no furniture.
Girl,
and
that's
lived
not a
quite
small
the frugal
house.
life. But we were happy to have our own space. The house was simple but
Wait, your
cozy
friend or
and
your
nice,
boyfriend?
and there was another room in the backyard with
Like, girl,
no
you look
windows,
like 17 years old.
but only a chair right in the middle of it. Needless to say, it was super creepy, so I
Or
avoided
husband.
that part of the house. While my boyfriend was working all day in a music
Girl,
school,
you just
I
look
took
like
care of
Slender
the
Man.
house. In the beginning, everything was fine. I felt happy there. But after a few weeks, weird things
I'm not
started
even
happening.
listening to
One day, I put some of the cans and
this. Girl, your
ingredients
house is
on the
gonna
kitchen
burn
table
down.
while I was
There's fire.
cooking.
See?
However, when I turned around to grab them, they weren't there. At first, I just thought that I had forgotten to pick up from the shelves.
That's not even that
But when
scary.
cans and knives started showing up in random places in the house, like the bedroom, I started paying more attention. My boyfriend also experienced
Oh,
the
okay, so
same
it's your
thing,
boyfriend.
and whenever he found the missing items, he just laughed about it. However, things started to change and
Oh,
took a turn
her
when we
boyfriend's gonna
decided
try
to
to
clean
kill
the
her.
backyard. We cut the grass, threw away the trash, and decided to leave the chair in the middle of the room. So my boyfriend picked it up
It
and left
already
it
is
in
in
front of the
the
house
room.
to be collected.
Oh.
He told me that he felt sick the moment he entered that room. I thought he was overreacting, but when I
Slender
entered,
Man, look.
I immediately felt a heavy weight on my chest
Where are you in?
and a piercing
Oh.
headache. However, everything would be fine again once we left that area.
Girl, you
It
gonna
was
faint?
scary, so we went to a
sweating.
local church, got some
Ew.
holy water and salt from the priest, and cleaned the room. We thought that everything would be okay now. My boyfriend had to leave for work, and I continued cleaning inside the house. But I
Okay,
didn't feel
after this,
calm
I'm
and
gonna ask my
happy as
mom
I
if I can
usually
go to
did,
church.
because I constantly had the feeling that
Well, she might
someone
not
was
let me.
watching me. I
Cause,
even
like,
checked the
what
doors
time is
and
it?
windows to see if there was anyone
It's...
around, but no one was there. And I still
Hold on.
felt uncomfortable and was
Yeah, it's
paranoid
3
all
o'clock.
day. When my
PM.
boyfriend returned home in the evening, we started hearing noises coming from outside. This area was kind of dangerous, especially at night, so my boyfriend was super careful when going
3:10 PM
outside.
actually.
He thought that it could be a robbery. Everything
See,
was
why
all
are you
peaceful
going back?
except for the fact that the chair was back inside the room. It
Ooh,
was in
you're in
the same place as
trouble.
before. So he got really mad when
The
he
monster
saw it,
thing would
thinking that
probably
some
wants you to
punk
sit
was playing
down.
a trick on us. He went outside and decided to grab the chair, break it, and throw it away. But I could see the panic on his
Right.
face when he couldn't move the chair. For
Your
whatever
hand is,
reason, it was
like,
completely fixed to the ground.
almost the size of
Not
the
like
chair.
it was glued to the floor, but more like it weighed 10 tons. No matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't move. Because he had to come up with another
Can
plan,
someone
he
super
ran
glue that to the
inside,
floor?
grabbed
Grab
holy
it.
water and salt, made a circle around the chair, and started praying. Suddenly, we heard a loud bang. Thousands, maybe millions of cockroaches started coming out of every sewer hole outside of the house. I am terribly terrified of cockroaches, so I guess this was my worst nightmare. He left the chair and we rushed inside the house. And after we checked
In your
everywhere,
shower, I bet they're
we
gonna be there.
locked all the doors and windows, and then ran away to my mom's house. As the incident happened on a Friday evening, we decided to stay at her house until Sunday to calm down. On Sunday afternoon, we returned home
Girl, what
and
day is it
everything
then?
felt normal. There were
I
no
wasn't
traces
paying
of
attention.
insects around, and the chair was still in its place, but the house seemed quiet. We started relaxing a bit, and as I had just refilled the fridge on Friday with groceries, I decided to start cooking something nice for dinner. However, when I opened the fridge, I saw an image I will never forget. All the food was full of maggots, and it was almost completely
Ew!
decomposed. The smell
Once
was
I found a
horrible
maggot
inside.
outside.
I have never seen anything like it before. I mean, the fridge was still on and seemed to be working, but the food was not frozen and full of
Disgusting.
decomposition. Could not be
Whatever
finished
my
in less than
maggots
48
family.
hours.
Sorry,
It
get
was the
that from
most
Big Messman.
disgusting
Shout out to
thing I've
him.
ever seen. I screamed and showed it to my boyfriend, who also couldn't understand what happened, but there was nothing we could do with the food or the fridge. Later, we finally decided to give the house back, and we moved out to another city,
And
and
the same exact
fortunately,
thing's gonna
I've
happen.
never experienced anything like that again. but that incident still gives me the chills.
Ew. Hurry up. Go away.
This happened to me recently. I was on my
These
way
are pretty
home
short.
from the bank when someone suddenly called. When I looked back, I could see a man in his late 40s on the road. And he had pretty long, shaggy hair that almost reached his
You know
shoulders.
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo?
Besides that, there were
Does
so
he have a
many
dog named
small
Scooby?
scars on his face,
Yeah, I'm
which
just kidding.
made me feel really uncomfortable. I asked him if he needed any help. He asked me for some food because he had a 5-year-old girl who was starving.
Oh.
However, it was somehow odd. The way he spoke didn't sound pitiful to me at all. And he was saying it quickly, as if he had memorized the lines. I stared blankly at him for a minute, and then felt anxious. I'm sorry. I have to go now. I left abruptly.
I'm gonna keep following you.
Hey, hey! He kept calling from behind me, and then started yelling at me because I didn't turn my head around. I was so scared that I eventually passed my house and ran straight into another alleyway. Because it was especially hot that day, my town was pretty quiet, and that only made things scarier. Now that I think about
Girl,
it,
you
the
live in like
situation
New York
was
City.
really creepy. I don't
'Cause you have,
even
like,
know where he
thousands of
came
houses.
from. I didn't hear any footsteps. But when I looked
behind
back, the man walked right in front of me, asking for food again.
The
One of my
mysterious
friends
sound.
got married not too long ago. She was living with her husband and mother-in-law, was the type to nag a lot to her. For your information, my friend used to be a little chubby, and because of it, her mother-in-law scolded her frequently and prevented her from eating food. It was ridiculous. When I heard that, I met her at a cafe, and I could see that she didn't look well. So I asked her what happened, and then she said something really creepy. My friend couldn't hold back her hunger after midnight, so she snuck into the kitchen quietly. When she heard her mother-in-law snoring in her sleep, she started eating some of the food in the refrigerator. Suddenly, she felt something was wrong. She felt like someone was watching her, so she turned around, and her mother-in-law was staring at my friend. Her eyes were raised while she made a snoring sound with her mouth on purpose.
After my dad's shoes.
A few days ago,
After
my dad
this,
lost his shoes at a restaurant.
I need to watch something
When
like
he checked the
happy.
CCTV, he saw that an old man went outside wearing his shoes. At first, my dad decided to just think that he made a donation. But the next day, a package arrived at his company office.
Oh, it's his shoes.
As he opened the box, he saw a new pair of the exact same shoes that he had lost the day before. And the sender was unknown. Let's think about it. My dad lost his shoes just yesterday, but when he checked the delivery date, it was dated a few days ago. Dad was just satisfied with the new pair of shoes that he received, but my mom and I are still feeling uncomfortable and
You
weird
called
about
the
it.
police for a pair of shoes?
I mean,
That
who
you
would
lost?
send shoes to you for free, and for no purpose at all? What a weird situation.
I bet he kept them on all costs. Oh, the cell phone.
This happened a few days ago. I
Wait,
found the cell phone in the
same
corner
exact
of my
same.
bed while cleaning my room.
Matt.
Of course, it was not mine,
Girl,
and
why
it
you have
didn't
a
belong to
rainbow
any of my friends either.
dust
So I
skin?
turned on the cell phone to check what was in it, and I was left speechless. Well, I've never seen that cell phone while living in this house for several years. I found it just today.
3 or 7?
But when I checked the phone's recent call history, one was made just yesterday. If someone knows the answer to this, please let me know. What should I do with this cell phone now?
The nightmare of terrarium.
It seems like growing a terrarium is in fashion.
Terrarium.
But
Yay.
I threw out my terrarium.
Good thing I was close. Hold on, guys. I need to fix my
bought a
pose
terrarium
because
at
I'm
the store
scared.
while heading home. I put it next to my bed and fell asleep. The next morning, I saw a girl lying next to me on my bed. And the scariest part was that her neck was halfway turned. But as soon as I jumped up, screaming, she was already gone. At first, I thought it was just a nightmare or some kind of sleep paralysis. A few days later, I had a dream this time, and I was inside of the terrarium. I was on something like a big hill, and dolls made of bones were digging through the soil of the garden. As soon as I stepped closer, I could see the bones on the ground.
Party.
Then I woke up from my dream in fright. Because I felt uncomfortable thinking about the woman I saw a few days ago. I went into the bathroom with a
You're
terrarium.
looking weird.
I started taking all the plants and moss out of the glass. You know, moss is usually very easy to peel off. However, this one didn't come off easily. It was as if the roots of the plant grew so deep that it felt like they were stuck to the soil. I was about to turn on the water and wash the roots, and at that moment, little white pieces rattled and were drained down the sink.
Maggots.
What was that?
Maggots.
Suddenly, I was struck with fear. I couldn't even think of washing it anymore. Eventually, I had to throw the plants outside. What were those white pieces I saw?
Maggots.
What if they were real bone fragments?
Fine.
It happened when I was in middle school. One day, 2 of my classmates committed suicide together on the roof of an apartment complex. Everyone in the class wondered why they did that and felt sorry for them. And a few days later, we received a group photo from our school trip. The moment we looked closely, we found something unbelievable. Some of the students were screaming, and some were crying. It was insane. When I looked at it, it was really, really weird.
The boy, girl.
The 2 friends who committed suicide together were standing next to each other, and their eyes were looking upwards the same exact way. It was strange enough to make the viewer feel unpleasant.
Which one are you?
Well, eventually our teacher ended up burning the picture. What was up with that picture? I have no clue at all.
Toy story about my truth or dare
This happened
game.
a week before my 19th birthday. I had invited 3 of my closest friends over to my place since my parents were out of town for a few days, and my sister had recently moved to the dorm. Well, anyway, 15 minutes later, my friends Keith, Jay, and Marcus showed up at my door
Oh, you have
with
some
a handful
beer.
of beer for the perfect boys' night. We watched movies, chugged on some drinks, and even had an epic pillow fight until 10:45 p.m.
Bro, that's
when
like
Keith
for like
suggested that we play an
Find my
extreme
age.
truth or dare
8 year
game
old.
to make this night a blast. The boys mostly preferred truth, which was hilarious as they were compelled to answer embarrassing questions. But when it was my turn, I chose to do a dare. They all discussed among themselves for a solid minute until Jay finally dared me to dress up as a girl and walk outside. At first I hesitated, but accepted it regardless. I found the blonde wig in the storage box, which was from last year's Halloween, and wore one of my sister's
guys.
fancy dresses that she saved for special occasions. Then we went outside looking for some fellows to prank, and that's when the sight of a few guys smoking on their motorbikes caught my eye. They all looked like they were around in their mid-20s. I walked past them while my friends hid behind the bushes, waiting for a reaction. Soon, I could tell that they were gazing at me, and when I glanced over to get a peek of them, I realized that they were all coming towards me. As they moved closer, one of them asked if I came here often, and if he could get my phone number. Too bad, I'm a boy, loser. I started laughing frantically as I removed my wig. However, they didn't seem to like this prank, and I figured that was a huge mistake I had made. Suddenly, he
Oh,
pulled out a
serious?
pocket knife and said that I was gonna pay for that awful prank. Panicked, I instinctively kicked his left leg, making a run for it, as I heard the others starting their bikes up to chase me. All of my friends who witnessed that moment immediately headed back to the house to call 911.
Bruh, save your friend, then. Bruh, you should got your phone on you.
Unfortunately, those punks ganged up on me, blocking my path, and I was thrown to the rough surface by a strong push. The guy I had kicked in the leg earlier got off his bike and pulled out his knife once again, with the creepiest grin I've ever seen on his face. Do not ever prank on me, you bastard. When he was about to stab me while I was screaming, I noticed that he abruptly stopped midway. There was a loud police siren near us. The volume of the sirens got louder, and finally, they ditched me and ran away. I was laying on the road in pure shock. Luckily, I was rescued by my friends who had informed the police right on time. We never encountered those guys anymore around our town, nor did we ever play that stupid game after that. I cannot imagine what would have happened to me if the cops were even just a minute later.
For a couple seconds. Okay, guys. Yeah, that was it. I hope you guys like these horror stories. Love you. Goodbye.